Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film Family. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about Guy Ritchie's new film, The Gentleman. So we're going to get right into it.
Yeah.
I personally like Guy Ritchie. I'm not like an ecstatically huge fan of his, but I definitely think he's got some talent. I'm not as big of a fan of the movie Snatch as a lot of people are. I just don't really connect with it like other people do. But I definitely think he has a very clear directorial voice. And that's really all you can ask for from a great director. And how much you like that voice depends on your taste. But I really think when I'm watching a Guy Ritchie movie, I can tell. And I actually am a big fan of his Sherlock Holmes movies. And I think he's a solid director. So I was relatively excited for this movie. And then I found out he was writing it. And then I didn't really realize he had actually written a lot of his movies. But this is definitely a movie that, I don't know. I mean, it's a movie that you might like if you just like a certain sharpness to your movie. But also it's a movie that, in a way, doesn't have a plot, though it has a lot going on plot-wise. But I had a fun time with this movie.
I agree. But I feel like Guy Ritchie has one of those styles that it's kind of... It's so unique to him that it's a hit or miss for me. Yeah. So I really like the Sherlock Holmes, but I also agree, like, Snatch doesn't resonate with me as strongly. But this film, I'd say it's geared towards a British audience, but I feel like it isn't, to be honest. It just takes place there, but it is that smarter, drier wit that's quippy with it, and you got to be quick. I'm not going to say that I didn't like this movie, and I actually had a really good time watching it, but I feel that because he also produced it on top of writing it and directing it, he may have stretched himself a little too thin, and something, I don't know exactly what, but something kind of got like lost between the cracks.
Interesting. No, I was very interested in both of you guys' point of view. I remember when Guy Ritchie came into the scene, and he just had a unique voice, as Bigi just said, in terms of it was so refreshing in a way. He has such a unique style that it threw everything else in a loop. And the dialogue, it is witty, it is quick. And he has this ensemble cast always that is like all these great actors and stuff like that. But this movie to me felt like more of a return to form. And I love Snatch, and I love Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. I always get that mixed up, in terms of just because it's his style, and it's different, and exactly what you're getting. You're getting some kind of English gangster thing with underground. And so I really like this movie as opposed to, and I know he did Sherlock Holmes, and I loved his style in that too. Aladdin, not so much, but it's just like that's, I like Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm still a little confused why he chose to direct Aladdin. Like,
I'm
I don't know if
I'm confused why they asked him.
Yeah, I'm confused what they saw.
What are they?
I mean, yeah, but
is that a bet or like a challenge?
That's true.
Like we're gonna get the person farthest from Disney we can.
When you're like not from a certain, okay, I'm gonna say not from America because I live in America, but this applies to any country looking outwards. When you're from like a different country, it's interesting to see the directors that have the most success in entertaining or enthralling foreign audiences. In his case, a foreign audience is America, which I'm not afforded to myself. Okay. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that his movies sometimes are so British that I just don't get it. Yeah. And that's how I feel about Snatch a little bit. Even like the accents of the people.
Oh, yeah. The Snatch was very,
And so when I watch this movie, I can see, he has an American character who's the main character, played by Matthew McConaughey, who actually does a good job. And I'm so happy they didn't make him do an accent because I don't think he could have done that. Like, he would have butchered that. I was actually, because I didn't know what the plot was, so I was like really nervous if he was supposed to do an accent, but I'm glad he didn't. But I think that his humor in this movie is a lot more accessible to American audiences, at least more than some of his other movies. The thing about Sherlock Holmes is a lot of the humor in that movie is situational comedy, and it doesn't really relate to just being British. Whereas Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and a couple of his other movies are pretty obviously British. And I feel like in this movie, some of the jokes and just some of the lines really had me either entertained or laughing. And I had a really good time with this because I think the script for this movie is actually a little bit better than the direction. I like his direction. I like some of the editing tactics he uses. But the script for this movie was probably my favorite script he's written. It's something about it was really cool. And I like the way he just put words together.
Yeah, cool.
I agree. I feel like there was layers to this as far as how he's kind of telling a story while you're watching it. But one of my problems I had is when they're in his house and he's kind of telling the story. I did not like the lighting, yo.
Oh,
I felt
really?
like I was watching a play. Because they did so much direct, like, overhead lighting, and the rest of it was so black. It didn't feel natural, like it was house lighting or even like moonlight lighting, and it just made them feel like it was.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I don't
like.
want to spoil it, but there's one scene where Charlie Hunnam's character's talking to Colin Farrell, and they're both in the same room watching this video. And I actually thought it was like a scene cut from two different rooms, because one has like this very dark and blue light on it, and one has like yellow and white light on him. And I was confused. But like, I didn't notice it like that really, but I definitely saw that there was some lighting dissonance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there was just some things that didn't feel like it was well thought out. You know what I mean? Or maybe it was so well thought out that it's just over my head.
Yeah. No, I didn't notice that, but that's, I'm kind of upset that I didn't notice that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I knew what I was getting into once I saw Guy Ritchie's name, because I forgot that he had directed and written this and whatever. I was just like, okay, we have to, we're going to see The Gentleman, and all that stuff. I guess it's going to be a good movie. And so I was just really pleasantly surprised at everything. That the acting was great. I'm trying to think of what bothered me, because you guys mentioned certain things that bothered me. I mean, we're not doing spoilers, but I did predict certain things, and there were some twists, but I would say 85% of it I predicted, which kind of...
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't predict
I don't know if it's my old age or whatever, or maybe I'm seeing formulas, but... And the thing is that, it was very cleverly done. Like the screenplay, I don't know why I'm predicting these things. It's like throwing out a lot of the fun. But there was some surprises still, so that was it.
I don't know. For me, like, I definitely was impressed with the level of, I guess, trickery he was able to pull off with the script, because there are definitely parts where I actually even thought of the opposite of what would be predictable to think of what he would do. And then I was like, all right, and let's think of maybe a third option. But he chooses like the sixth option sometimes. Yeah. There's one thing in this movie, I think you guys know what to talk about, involving like some animals and stuff. I was like, oh my goodness. And then everybody in like my theater was just laughing, because they seemed to like they had a really good time in it. But I mean, I got to say, there's some like this conversational pieces in this movie that I really just enjoyed. And they're the type of conversational pieces that very few screenwriters make me enjoy. Like when I hear people just talking in a room and it doesn't involve direct tension or violence, because in this movie it technically does involve the plot, how this Hugh Grant's character is talking to Charlie Hunnam, and there's like a lot of subtext there involved with what's going to happen. But they also just started talking at one point about some rant. It felt a little Tarantino-esque, and I was actually really enthralled by it. And I didn't expect that from a Guy Ritchie movie. Like, there was one line in this movie that, because they're talking, and then it like intercuts with some other stuff, and then it like kind of does voiceover at parts with some other stuff. And there's a line he said. He's like, "Oh, they're gonna surf the echelon of cultural something," and I was like, it's just the type of line that I don't think many people can think of. And when you have a screenwriter who can do that, they're doing their job right. Because at the end of the day, if you can write something that 50 other people could do it, you're not very special in your job, And I was I was really enjoying watching his screenplay unfold. And I want to talk about really my only major criticism. And again, maybe it just went over my head like you were saying. But I felt like the plot for this movie, I'm not going to say it wasn't well thought out, because it was probably too well thought out, but it wasn't necessarily well presented, because it felt like there were certain elements, and I don't even think from the beginning of the movie it was bad. I think the middle part of this movie started to introduce things too far into the movie that in ways were compatible with other parts, and then you find out that they're connected and there's some sort of plot relevance and character relevance, but it was too deep into the movie to actually, for me at least, to serve an effective reason to exist in the movie. And I know plot-wise it did, and then there's a bunch of stuff at the end where it's like, oh, it's all coming together. But by that point, I was like, I don't think you've done enough groundwork to show that they're all coming together. It makes sense, and if you watch the movie 5 times, you might be able to get all of that. But I felt like he didn't do an incredible job at presenting everything and how they, narratively at least, were connected.
Yeah, got it.
I agree. I feel that he tried to go way too wide as far as explaining the breadth of the story, but he didn't really go deep, because I didn't really personally feel like a deep connection to any character individually. Like, I know that Charlie Hunnam was supposed to be loyal to Matthew McConaughey, and it was obvious, but you never really felt that type of loyalty or where that came from. Or the relationship between him and his wife. They tried to show that loyalty and that love and that dedication.
I actually like that one.
It was very funny, but I felt like, again, there wasn't that you know what I mean? Like Matthew McConaughey did exactly what he did, but the film didn't drag it out so you could see what it meant.
There was also a couple shots and uses of music in this movie that I actually really enjoyed. One in particular towards the beginning that I was like, that was nice. You got me there. And then there's one actually at the very end that I'm not gonna spoil, but it put a little smile on my face because I think when music interposes with what you're putting on the camera and how that goes with the plot, I love that stuff. You know, and then it all comes together with a little mini nugget of a moment. That's like one of my favorite things in the movie, and that's again something you see Tarantino do a lot. But
one of my favorite things about this movie was when he was talking about he was trying to pitch his script and how they said he wants to have it in 35 millimeter and then the transition and then that not TV widescreen and how creative it was.
There's actually quite a few like film references.
Yeah, you know, and it was technical. Cool. I thought it was nice.
I do like when a director shows off that they're a film fan, and like I was saying in a couple of videos ago, we were talking about like how at least this is what I think, that every director at one point, even if it's not revolving around the whole movie, should show their love for cinema in some sort of way. You know, not every movie should be completely disconnected with that because, you know, it's an art form that you're a part of, so you should show a little respect to it. And I thought that was cool that he did that in this movie.
I liked that too.
And there was definitely some cool artistic stuff they did, like you said, with the camera. And Hugh Grant was actually my favorite performance. Is
there an earthquake or something?
Oh my God. Get down.
There goes one of our...
Who was it? It was The Matrix.
Yeah. Should we continue?
Moving forward, Hugh Grant.
Yeah, I thought Hugh Grant was actually really good in this movie. He was probably my favorite performance. He was so entertaining. He said some stuff that...
What happened? No, it's still up there. It just fell further, I think.
Yeah. He did some stuff in this movie that I thought was actually pretty entertaining in terms of just how he interacted with Charlie Hunnam's character, and it was definitely something where I could see that British people would probably enjoy it even more than me. It was a certain, I guess, like sharpness to the humor or a cheekiness to the humor, and I thought he was having fun in his role. And Colin Farrell was also really good. I actually wish he was more.
He was my favorite.
I wish he was in more of the movie. Yeah. And there was one little part at the end where he does something. He just kind of gives his facial expression, and everybody was like, "You're that guy," you know. And I enjoy that. But Hugh Grant was just. He made me laugh a lot. There's some lines he says that are just weird, and there's some stuff. But his pitching of the script is really cool. And there's a thing they do at the end that's super meta that I thought was really cool too.
Yeah. Cool. So I mean, I don't really because I was going to mention Colin Farrell, but you guys did already because I loved him in it.
Yeah. So no final thoughts.
Not really. I mean, without spoiling it,
Yeah,
I think
it's hard.
It's hard because there's so many things that you can.
I will say though, I do like Matthew McConaughey with a gun. And I just felt like it was weird to see him like that for me, and it was just it was super cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna give this movie a 7.7 out of 10.
I would give this movie a 7.5 because I wouldn't see it in theaters, to be honest. I don't think you need to see it in theaters, but I would watch this movie again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
yeah,
it's not a great movie, but it's definitely an entertaining movie that I'm not opposed to watching again.
I was going to give this movie a 7.9 just because it barely made, 8 is you have to see it in theaters. And I agree, you do not have to see this in theaters. It's entertaining. I liked it a lot. I mean, the only reason you would go to see it in theaters if you wanted to support Guy Ritchie and him make more of these kind of movies. But, otherwise, it's something that you definitely can catch at home.
I definitely think he was pretty passionate about this movie, too, because you can tell he put a lot of effort in just thinking about the script and putting it together narratively and structurally. But I would say that, because the way we had a video way back where we were explaining how our ratings work. Yeah. And, I don't do it like you see it in the theaters because I guess that's, I don't know. I mean, for me, I just gave it that because I'd say it's good, almost great, just a little below great. But I definitely think it's a movie you could enjoy in theaters because a part of a theater experience has to be how your audience is.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I had nobody in mind.
Yeah,
and the people that I did have, they liked it. You know what I mean? But again, for me,
it's different. But I think it's a fun theater experience. Yeah. Again, I feel like this movie is like just a Tarantino movie with a few notches down because it is missing a couple of his best traits, but it's got a very Tarantino vibe to me.
What if someone asked, would you watch this with me again? Like in terms of
in theaters?
Yeah.
I see it a second time in theaters?
Would go see it a second time.
Yeah,
if somebody wanted to, I would see it again.
I would definitely see this movie again because A, it's pretty short, but B, there's a lot of fun stuff. And honestly, there's some richness to the script.
And I felt like I was laughing a lot more than the people I went to see it with and the people in the theater because I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was getting the jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that there's a lot to look at with this movie script and a lot to hear and a lot to feel. And I really like that Guy Ritchie put that much into the script. There's so many lines that I think are cool. I wish I remembered more, but there's a lot of the ones that were just put together in a certain way. And I was like, I like that he can put it together.
I love the way they curse in this movie. It's one of my favorite parts.
They curse a lot more casually. They really insult each other and just treat it like it's nothing.
I'm pretty sure that's just British dialect.
Yeah, I guess
that's
so.
how they talk.
I don't know. But yeah, if you saw this movie, let us know what you thought of it. If you have a favorite Guy Ritchie movie, also let us know what it is. And like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.